the most awaited expert series. It's already almost 9 o'clock. So we are going to have a brief introduction to glass manufacturing process, types of glass and its applications by our own treasurer VU3 FDU Old Man Ashwin. Ashwin, I thank you very much for taking up this and volunteering to share this experience and expertise with all of us. So please begin with an introduction of you and how you are associated with this, and then please go ahead. Let's welcome VU3 FDU. Ashwin, go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Sri Sab. Yeah, friends, now I'm not a very expert in glass, but on my way I have picked up a lot of experiences and knowledge in the course of my being in the glass industry. And I have been about a decade and a half in the glass industry, basically in the automobile industries, then the insulating glass industries and the bullet resistant glass industries. Basically, for all the other glass, the main product is glass manufacturing, and it has been in the domain for almost 5,000 years. It has come to India maybe about 1700 BC, and that time it used to be a very crude type of a process. And the basic ingredients for glass is silica sand. We call it silica sand, that is sand. Then we have some additives like soda ash, limestone and dolomite. And 3/4 portion is sand, which is mixed. All these 3-4 contents are put together and made a batch. Once the batch is put, it is thoroughly mixed, and they ensure that there are no impurities like other particles and all. This is put into a furnace where it is heated almost to 1500 degrees centigrade, and then it melts just like molten glass. And incidentally, glass is said that it is neither solid nor liquid. It's an inert state, but definitely it is a solid once it solidifies. So that's it. When glass is heated to a very high temperature, it will melt, and then it starts flowing from the furnace into a bed where it runs along the length. Depend on the bed size, right from 2 meters to 4 meters to a length of about 300-400 feet. In between, it is picked up after the melting process is there. It goes through an annealing process because that molten glass will shatter if it is immediately cooled. So it goes through a process of annealing where it is slightly cooled down, and then from there, in the olden days, it used to be picked up or run through iron rollers, huge solid iron rollers of different sizes depending on the thickness of the glass. The basic thickness, half inch, quarter inch, or 2 mm, 3 mm, 4 mm, 5 mm. And then it is sent through various rollers into again an annealing chamber where it is hardened, or it takes its own time, and then it comes out on the other end as a clear glass, and there it is cut into sizes with the edges and different sizes as per the requirements of the market or the wholesale size. That's the small update on the glass manufacturing process. That's the input. And during the process of making the glass, they add cullets, that is pieces of broken glass, onto that mixture. It helps the glass melt faster, otherwise it takes a long time. A very interesting fact about the glass manufacturing industry is the furnace is kept on. It is either a gas-fired furnace or an oil-fired furnace where the glass melts, and it is kept on 24 hours, 365 days of the year for the next 5 years, 6 years, 8 years, 10 years, till there is a breakdown in the furnace wall. Usually very high heat resistant refractories are used there, and with some special bonding material which stands up to 2000, 3000, 4000 degrees temperature. That's the info. So once this is the raw glass, this is the old method of making glass. Then the latest method is, instead of the molten glass flowing on to the bed and then being picked up by the rollers, you have a float, F-L-O-A-T, bed technology. Basically, instead of the glass running onto a regular bed, here the molten glass runs on a bed of molten tin. Molten tin, 2 inches thick, is laid out. Again, it's between 2.5 to 3 to 4 meters wide, and a length of about between 200 to 300 to 500 feet, depending on the available space. There is hot molten lead on which the glass runs. Then it is allowed to cool. The lead is the tin or lead. They use mostly tin, or lead is also used. It is kept boiling, but the glass will cool off, and then it is drawn on to the rollers. From there it is taken on for processing. That is the one input I would like to add. The old method, you will find waves in the glass because of the roller marks, however careful you are. If you have seen the old glasses, when you move your face around or you look at an angle, you will see a distortion or a deviation in the image. So those are all plate glass, it is known as. Whereas this is known as float glass because it is floating on the tin there. That is the info on the manufacturing process. Any questions now? Then I'll discuss about tempered glass, insulating glass, and bullet resistant glasses. Now this is regarding plain glass, regular glass. The same glass, if you see what is used for glazing, we call it figured glass. Different types of pictures or designs are made on the glass. Pinhead, square, then Kona, different names are there, and different colored glasses are there. So to make those glasses, they add some additives, salts. Various types of salts are added, like cadmium is added, copper is added, tin is added, lead is added, cobalt is added, gold chloride is added, chromium is added. Various oxides and compounds are added to give the color to the glass, especially for those colored glasses. And for clear colored glasses also, these salts are added. That's the update on how the coloration comes. And on the design part of it, there are rollers, just like molds with the designs. And just before the glass solidifies, it is passed through these rollers, and you will find these huge sheets of glass with the designs embedded on them. That's one info. So once the glass is processed, the selected A quality or AA plus is used for the automobile industries and for some specialized purposes. So these glasses are cut to size and then they are tempered. Tempering is the process of reheating the glass to a temperature of about 900 degrees. Before it melts, it is red hot and it is held either by tongs or by gravity onto a mold, and it is cast into a shape of the windscreen or the side glass or the curved glass or whatever shape you want. There are two processes, one is a mold and one is a gravity process. The required cut size glass is kept in the mold or the gravity chamber, and again there it is heated and the glass melts, and not fully melts but it becomes a semi-solid and then slowly melts and sits in the mold, where again then it is come out. And the best part is the process of tempering for automobile industry is the mold, once the glass is set in the mold, is moved on to the chiller tray, where you'll have a number of nozzles along the length and breadth. The whole area of the glass is chilled under high pressure, the glass surface. So immediately the glass surface cools out and forms an inbuilt pattern of sort of a fracture. If you have seen the old glasses, when they shatter into small bits, which is very safe. And as you know, if glass breaks, the edges are very sharp and highly dangerous. It can slice you in two pieces. It is so sharp, the group. So So to prevent it in automobiles, when there's an accident, you just imagine the glass breaks. It'll cut you, all the occupants, in pieces there. So that's why they call it as tempered glass. So the whole glass becomes into small particles. There is no gas in the glass, but it is the chilling pattern which creates that fracture pattern inside the glass. It is stretched out, but it doesn't break. Whereas it is 7 to 8 times stronger compared to the ordinary glass. That's how it is tempered. In the earlier days, the glass used to be uniformly tempered, but then they found a drawback. Then when you're driving at high speed and there is a stone that has hit the glass, the whole windscreen goes opaque and you can't see through, and you cannot pull your car to the side. So they have changed the pattern of the cooling of the glass into zone. The center of the glass, the chilling pattern difference is slightly more, whereas on the edges it is closely chilled. The nozzles are closely held, whereas on the center the nozzles are a little apart. So here again the fractures are formed slightly bigger, and if you see those glasses, the fracture pieces will be bigger, and from the center where the driver sits and quite a bit of the portion of the glass, you can see through the glass and you can pull your vehicle to the side of the road. So further down they found that also not to be sufficient. They came up with laminated safety glass. That is, a glass will crack only, and it is basically also known as sandwich glass. Two glasses stuck together with a layer of polyvinyl butyrol sheet, just like a PVC sheet. It's not PVC. The spurious glass manufacturers uses a PVC, but it is PVP, polyvinyl butyrol. In two glasses, they have an opaque PVB sheet put between the two glasses, and it is put in an autoclave where the glass is cured under certain temperature, where both the glasses are bound together and the opaque sheet becomes clear. In this, the advantage is the glass shatters vertically, cracks all along wherever there is an impact, but it will be stuck to the glass. It will not fall off, and it is very safe. And to some extent, it is a penetration. It will stop some penetration also inside the vehicle. So that was regarding the tempered glass. Off late, you will find most of the vehicles using the laminated safety glass in the front, and on the sides you have tempered glass, and on the back side. That is the automobile part of it. And for the architectural industry, we have insulating glasses, where two glasses are sealed together through a spacer, either a plastic, aluminum or steel, and it is hermetically sealed or vacuum sealed, or they put some argon gas into it to prevent condensation inside the glass. So that has two purposes. One is insulation from the outside weathers, and second is sound insulation, and it reduces the load on the AC if your building is central AC. And further, the outside will be reflective glass, which reflects the sunlight and make it a one-way glass, wherein you can achieve 40% up to 40% load on your electricity bill will be reduced, saving on energy. This is elements of insulating glass. Then we have bullet resistant glasses. It's not bulletproof, it is bullet resistant glasses. Just like the automobile windshield, instead of 1+1 glass, we have a number of glasses of various thickness autoclaved together. Since we have one glass of 2 mm, one glass of 4 mm, one glass of 5 mm, one glass of 8 mm, various combinations, all in between with a layer of PVB. This PVB layer is usually 0.3 mm or 3 mm depending on the requirement. And as you know, there are various types of weapons like 22, 32, 42, 82, 303, 22, AK-47. Various types of protection is required. for the VIPs and the defense purpose and the army personnel carriers. So these glasses are specifically made to stop a projectile entering and hitting the personnel in the vehicle or the VIPs in the vehicle. But a continuous volley or a non-stop volley of bullets or bombs will shatter the glasses, and chances of an injury is there. Definitely in the convoy, an evasive action is taken, so there is no immediate hit. You can escape or take a detour, and there is a cover fire taken from the backside or from the convoy which is following or covering the VIP. So for that particular moment, it stops the personnel getting injured, and they can take evasive actions there. That's the small info on that. There is something called a sand blasting, wherein in the earlier days, if you have seen the sliding showcase glasses that you have in your house, there is a small little notch where they either do it by sand blasting or by grinding it. Then there is etching on the glass. Here again they use some paste sort of a thing made of silica, sulfuric acid, nitric acid and various other compounds, which is put on a design which is masked, which is left for some time, and then you get a design on the glass as per your requirement. Further, now we have latest all the computerized machines, and where automatically you have to feed it on a computer whatever designs you want, and the glass is cut, etched, beveled, whatever depth you want, and you get some fantastic designs and some 3D designs also. And also the beveling is done on these latest CNC machines there. That's the update on the glass industry. Now, glass manufacturing is a continuous process. Usually it is kept close to the source of sand, the glass industries, and it is a highly polluting industry, which lot of noise pollution, sound pollution, air pollution, consumes lot of water for the glass cutting industry. The glass cutting instrument is a diamond fitted onto the cutting instruments, and even the grinders for polishing are embedded with high quality diamond to cut the glass and polish the glass. So huge consumption of diamonds by the glass industry. And water for cutting purpose, they use a lot of oil, otherwise all the diamond tips will get spoiled. So cutting is a very heavy work, continuous process. The glass has to be cut both at the manufacturer end, at the shop, at the retail. So it's a huge process. But at the manufacturing stage, so huge use of water. So most of the plants recycle the water, but it is quite a big mega industry. So they avoid the residential areas wherever the glass industry is. Almost 200 to 1,000 trucks move in and out of the glass factory daily. So a lot of disturbances there in the area. Yes, then I was on this glass industry, and the quality of the glass, you see in India, whatever glass, clear glass comes, it will be light green and tinted color, light green if you look at an angle. That is because of the minerals present in the sand available in India because of the iron contents. And one of the best glasses made is by Pilkington or by Saint-Gobain, where they wash the sand or clarify the sand to remove most of the minerals, and you get a clear glass or a light blue glass, which is of a very high quality and standard. I think I have spoken in length, in a nutshell, of the various aspects of glass. And Mahesh?
Ashwin, first of all, congratulations for the fantastic presentation on the glass industry and the manufacturing process and everything. Great going, Ashwin. Thank you very much. And I would like to know the difference between toughened glass and tempered glass? That is one question. And second, you say there is a lot of pollution inside the factory while polishing and all. There may be fine dust particles of glass which may be very bad for the health of the individuals who are working. What precautions are they taking? Do they wear any special masks to prevent the dust particles, glass dust particles from getting into the lungs? Go ahead, Ashwin, over.
Yeah, I missed out on this very important aspect, Mahesh. Thank you for raising the question. And I'll answer your first question. Hardened glass is one thing, and tempered and toughened glass is just one and the same. Hardened glass is heated not up to the full temperature of 900, but up to 300 to 400 degrees, and then it is allowed to anneal and then it becomes harder, but not as hard as the toughened glass or toughened tempered glass. So hard glass is ordinary glass heated and then cooled, which makes it 2 to 3 times stronger. But it'll break in big pieces, which can again be dangerous. Whereas toughened glass is really tough glass, which is 7 times stronger, and tempered glass is glass chilled till the very close quarters. There are nozzles which chill the glass, and then the pattern forms, Mahesh. So that is one element of hardened tempered glass. That is one info. Yes, as I said, Mahesh, glass process making of the glass, the atmosphere is very, very clean, Mahesh. Once the glass starts flowing, the particles in the air is taken care of, and the tempering process and the laminating process is absolutely done in a dust-free environment. Now, the furnace level workers, they use those heat-proof jackets, sleeves, shields, and they use those Polaroid type of glasses, Mahesh, wherein they look into the furnace, not directly but through those glasses where you can see the molten glass. And while handling the glass, Mahesh, they wear a special wear, Mahesh, onto their stomach, their forearm, the wrist, the gloves, because when they're handling glass, the huge size of the glass, there will be some inbuilt fractures. So when they lift the glass or when they handle it, it tends to break, Mahesh. And just imagine 1.5 meter glass breaking from a height of 4 feet, falling on his legs or on his stomach. It will pierce him, Mahesh. It will actually slice through him if he's just wearing ordinary clothing. So they have special Kevlar type of material, just like they use in bulletproof, but more flexible for their arms, their wrist, forearms, their neck area, then chest area, then the stomach area. So that is the safety element, Mahesh. So now they have all pneumatic tools to handle the
RLS.
Right, Ronnie?
Ashwin, what does contribute to the weight-bearing capacity of the glass? I mean, heavy things can be placed on the glass in some of the type of glasses. I have no idea. That is one thing. Second thing is the cooling aspect. Now, for specs, we use glasses which turn black or blue or black during this one sun rays, and they give a cooling effect to the eyes. Is there any special application for that? Go ahead, FDO or RLS.
Hey, Ronnie. Again, good questions. And now, what you said was, see, I'll tell you all the weight of glass. Glass is what? Sand. And sand, if you try carrying a bag of sand, it's quite heavy. So usually, the glass weight we measure is per mm. That is 1 mm thick glass. And if you take a square of 1 square meter, will weigh about 2.5 kgs approximately, Ronnie. So 5 mm glass will weigh 5 mm into 2.5 kgs. That will be approximately 12 kgs. So 1 square meter of 5 mm glass will weigh about more than 12 kgs. So that's the weight. And as you rightly said, glass is quite strong in itself. It will not break, Ronnie, unless uneven pressure is applied or it is pierced or hammered on one particular side, only then it will fracture or break. So that is the one input. And various types of glasses are available, like bottle glasses, then plate glasses, mirror glasses, and mirrors are made out of special quality glasses. And there are scientific glasses where they are absolutely clear glass, and scientific apparatus are made out of it. And these glasses, scientific apparatus like test tubes, beakers, and some pots and slides are absolutely neutral. The composition of that glass is non-reactive. When you put some chemicals or testing elements into those scientific instruments, the pipettes and all the stirrers, they are they are neutral. They do not react to whatever chemicals are put into it. After that, there are applications like for lens. Nowadays lens are polycarbonate lenses or plastic lenses. Polycarbonates, what they do is the refractive indexes are changed, wherein you get the required lens power for your required eyes, and then the coatings are given like UV protect, then photosynthetic, photochromatic. These are all chemicals. They are coated. Coating is done, Ronnie. Whereas glass can be manufactured with that same thing, but those are really expensive. It will be in thousands, around 15,000, 20,000 for each lens if you are manufacturing those glasses with embedded chromatic matters. That is one thing. If you see the architectural glasses, you will find some beautiful bronze and grey and mirror finished glasses. Those glasses are actually cut into shape, or those huge sheets, for example 3 meter by 10 meters, are put into a ionized chamber where the surface of the glass is bombarded with positive and negative ions on one side and negative ions on the other side, and the ions from the glass surface are displaced and bombarded. And in this process, the surface of the glass gets coated with that mirror finish or reflective finish. So that's a highly technical process, and again a very secure and clean environment under which that is done. This is after the float glass. Basically I'm talking the float glass, which is a superior quality glass, is used for all these applications. Float glass is also used for making mirror. In the olden days, the glass used to be cleansed thoroughly, and then a fine film of silver was added. Then that silver was coated or anodized with a copper coating. After the copper coating, there will be a paint coating, and after the paint coating, there will be a coating of lacquer. Now you will find the olden days mirror, even today if they are there, they will last you generation after generation, and those mirrors will be beautiful mirrors, and the quality of image that you see in that mirrors will be fantabulous, or fantastic images you will see in those mirrors. Whereas nowadays what they do is they are using some aluminum oxide instead of silver. This aluminum mist is sprayed onto it, and then they have a paint coat and a lacquer coat, but the reflectivity of the silver is fantastic. You cannot match it. So that's one more small trivia I can give you on the mirror front of it. And earlier all the cars used to have those mirrors with those silver ones, but nowadays all the rear view mirrors on the side and on the top of the inside the car will all have aluminum coating, but they have done away with the silver, except exclusively. Still there are industries making those mirrors, but it is very expensive. So that's the update on the glass. And I can just give you some of the names of the salts which they use for coloring the glass. Like cadmium sulfate gives you a yellow color glass. Copper compounds give you a blue, green or a red color glass. Tin compound will give you a white glass. Tin compound will again give you a different type of a yellow. Then there is cobalt oxide, which gives you blue and violet color to the glass. Gold chloride, which is an expensive element, which gives you a red glass, which is probably the most expensive glass available. Then you have one more, green emerald glass, where they use some cobalt chloride. That's the update on the salts that are mixed. I think I've covered quite a length. I bored you. Probably 20-25 minutes are over. So I think I'll end this session. Thanks for listening. And I'll take any questions. Let me see if I'll be able to answer. 3 Fox Delta uniform, open for any questions. Okay. Before winding up, the Indian standards, IS standards for the glass is 2553. You can look up that on the Google. And there you'll give the quality specifications, how the inspectors check the glasses and how they put it out. And we have been suppliers when I was working for Hindustan Safety Glass. For our company, we had 3 companies. One was Triveni Glass, which makes the glass. That was both plate glass as well as float glass. Then we had Hindustan Safety Glass, our own company, which buys the glass from Triveni, then processes it, cuts it, toughens it, hardens it, laminates it, and supplies it to the customer. We had a trading company, India Trade Agency, which used to sell the glasses. And we had most of the automobile industries. I was fortunate enough to visit Premier, Hindustan, Tata, Mahindras, API, the old Lambretta scooters or 3-wheelers. Then we used to supply mirrors to Godrej, a lot of, then to most of, if you have seen in the petrol pumps, now they're using plastic on those petrol pump screens. Earlier it used to be glass, L&T, then switchboards, then some fire retardant rooms, some insulating rooms on the turbines, Tata turbines for sound insulation. I had some fantastic experience visiting these places. Then if you have seen most of the control towers in the airport, that huge vertical building, and on top a beautiful big dome with glass all around, those glasses were supplied by us. It's an insulating glass, heat reflective, and for miles and miles and miles and miles together, you can see the whole of city from that height. And it is used by the air traffic controllers. I have been to 2 or 3 of them in the process of resupplying glasses to them. That's the info. And there is no such proof as bulletproof glasses. What you have is bullet resistant glasses. So sometime I'll have some good jokes on this bullet resistant glasses, how people have damaged it thinking that it is bulletproof. They've thrown bottles on it, but the glass shatters. So that's the info. I'll put it to the president. SBJ, FDU.
Thanks, Ashwin. Very different topic. Very interesting topic. And which place in India is most famous for glass, Ashwin? Over?
See, the only manufacturer in India was Triveni Glass. Triveni Glass, it is in Allahabad. We had our factory there along the river Sangam. You get about 500 trucks of sand every day by Sri Sab. Now it is very strict. You have to have a license. So that is there. We have glass manufacturing plants in South India, Madras, then North India. Even now, Sen Govind glass has come. I think somewhere again in North India, Sri. So quite a few glass manufacturing plants have come up in India. An equal number of glass processing, that is after the glass is made for the automobile industry and other industries, there is the glass processing plants also, SBJ, FDU.
Okay. Alright. QSL, Ashwin. One last question. Is Belgium famous? Because I see a shop here called Belgium Glass House. Always wondering, probably Belgium is famous for glass, over?
See, the Belgium is famous because the sand that they use is very, very superior quality. That is, the sand has less of impurities. See, sand from the sea, we'll have a lot of minerals, iron, calcium, cobalt, so many things, lead, nickel, cadmium, so many things are embedded along with the sand. So Belgium has one of the finest quality of sand. That's why they say Belgium glass. And earlier glasses used to come, we used to import glasses from Belgium. And if you see those glasses, they are absolutely crystal clear. If you see Indian glass, they will be slightly green. Some of the glasses will be slightly blue. And some of the French glasses, they are clear, but they'll have slightly pink, light pink. The hue when you look at a particular angle. And if you want to actually see the color of the glass, you take a plain glass sheet and have a look at the edge. Look at 45 degrees angle. There you will actually see the color green, light blue and all those colors. So yes, Belgium glass is one of the best glasses. And those glasses were used earlier to make those mirrors with those silver coating. SBJ, FDU.
Okay, thanks Ashwin. Yes, especially when you cut a sheet of glass by mistake or intentionally, whatever, and the edge you see, I always remember it to be green. So it must be Indian glass, HI. Thanks Ashwin, that's a fantastic session. And thanks for doing this at very short notice when many of our other invitees were not able to do it. Thank you very much on behalf of all of us at MARC. You told us earlier that you were involved in glass. Never knew it till now. Thank you very much.
Yes, Majid Bhai, the recycling industry is a very big industry and people unnecessarily throw glass out in the open which doesn't decay for millions of years. But definitely those glasses are used in the glass industry and they are waiting and want it. But only thing is there is no value for the resale value and transportation cost is very high from the various pickup points. That's why that's not a very big industry. But it can be 100% recycled. It has to be sorted, Majid Bhai. Most of the colored glasses, that is either brown, black, green, grey, whatever it is, they all go together in one batch and it is used for architectural glass where you see a lot of grey, green, red, blue glasses used. There it doesn't make a difference. If all these glasses melt and fuse together and they form their own color in that particular batch and which is used, Majid Bhai. And there are other types of glasses like bottles, then drinking glasses, then wine glasses, crystal glasses, lead glasses, so many things. So that's another subject all in itself. I'll have to educate myself on that. Go ahead, QDX.
Yeah, Raja. Thank you very much, Ashwin. Wonderful explanation about this glass industry and throughout the technology you explained. It was fantastic. Thank you very much, Ashwin. Over to you, VO3. SBJ, go ahead. QDX, over.
Okay. Thanks, Majid Bhai. Thanks, everybody. I think we have reached at the end. Once again, on behalf of MARC, let us all thank Ashwin for the fantastic expert series session. With this, we have come to the end of the MOTA. I would like to hand over the mic to VO3 PWO for his concluding remarks and closure.
Rajashri, thank you very much for the opportunity. We have come to the end of the MOTA session today. I thank each and everyone for being with us and Shri for conducting and moderating the session, and also FDU for an excellent session on the glass which we never thought of. So it was very, very interesting and noteworthy. Thank you very much once again, everyone. Have a wonderful Sunday. 73s all around. VO2 SPJ, go ahead for final conclusion.
Okay, nothing else from my side. I would like to sign off. 73s to all of you. Thanks everybody for joining. It was a very good session. 1 hour 42 minutes. Thanks for being on frequency and attending the monthly on the air meeting for October of MARC. 73s, all of you have a very nice Sunday. Have a good day. See you in the evening for Karauli Evening Net. Bye bye.